Hello, everybody. James Rink here. I'm representing Free Inter Special Interest Groups today, along with beautiful co-host. I guess we call it Crystal. That's her alibi. And we also have Penny Bradley with us, who's going to share some information about the Secret Space Program, and Joel Lackey. I want to make sure I say your last name right. I think I got it right. And he also is an experiencer in the Secret Space Program with different alters as a general. So at this moment, I'm going to share my screen, and okay, hopefully everybody can see this. All right. So here we go. Penny's been so she's been on Mars for 60 years, and she was a ship navigator on a cargo transport for the Dark Fleet. And she was also kidnapped and abducted to H4, brought to other planets. Of course, she can share some of that with, I guess, with CIA, abducted her and brought her to Montauk, and that's at least when it began from my communications with her. And also, she's had experiences on other off-world bases, and we've also had an experience together when I was a super soldier, worked for Kruger. We covered some memories on that. And Anthony is not with us today, but we also have Joel with us, and his alter, his name is General Hendricks, and he works, I guess, with the, well, I don't know, what, Dark Fleet, because I know you said reptilian. Why don't we bring Joel in first? Joel, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so you say mostly 40% reptilian, 60% human. Which groups in the Secret Space Program did you work with?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Which group or groups within the Secret Space Program did you predominantly work with?
I worked with the Dark Fleet directly. In the beginning, I was in the Secret Space Program, training in the Utah bases underground in Utah, and then I was transferred to Dark Fleet under request from the White Reptilians. Because they knew who my soul group is and my parents that live on the homeworlds of the reptilian homeworlds. And I served directly with the Dark Fleet, still serving today with the Dark Fleet. And that's the groups that I work with today.
Okay. Could you possibly share your camera if it's available so we can see you? Thank you. All right. And also, Penny, would you want to quickly give some information, because we're going to do a Q&A session here. And I do have some questions, and also if any of the listeners want to put some questions in there, or if you want to jump in, you can. So I guess, thank you, Joe. And so, Penny, my first question is, how did they make your altar? And this also applies to you too, Joe. So, but Penny, why don't you start with this one first?
How did they make my altars? They kidnapped me when I was 4, and they drove me across country because that's the tech they had in 1959. And they took me to Langley in Virginia, and I was there for 5 years. And they create altars by torture. They torture little kids. If they torture an adult, the person will just go catatonic and basically die. But if they torture a little kid, the child will form an altar, a place to store that memory where the regular mind doesn't remember it. And that was what they were trying to do on purpose, was form those pockets. And then they take those pockets and program them to do what the Black Op what the CIA wanted me to do. And I have over 2,000 altars because their standard practice is to form a 13 by 13 by 13 cube of these altars, and then they program as many of them as they want. Most of them just store trauma, but I've reintegrated 30 of them, and I still have a long way to go.
Okay, Joel, do you have any information on how they created your alter. What was his name? General Hendricks?
Yeah. So when I was a child, around 6 years old, they originally took me to the LOC, and there was a iPad-looking device in front of my face, and for some reason I had the free will choice to pick my service. There was 5 options on the screen. One of the options that I recall said Mars, because it had 3 incarnations there, so I clicked Mars, and then I woke up in this machine where I was strapped up, standing up straight, and there was a needle in my heart, a needle down my shoulder, and they drained my human blood first, and then they had these 2 large cylinders of reptilian blood, and they injected the reptilian blood into my body, and then they inject this pink substance in my body, and then I dropped to the ground, and I woke up later 8 feet tall, about 700 to 1,000 pounds, and I was a super soldier. The same picture that I showed you had on your website there, that's what I look like. And now what they do is my human body will be laying in this bedroom, and they'll just take my consciousness out of this body, and they will put me into my super soldier bodies that they cloned. And the original super soldier body they had, they just age regressed it back to when I was 6 years old and put it back in time so I wouldn't be missed. That's about it.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so we're just looking at some of the photos. So
That was a white reptilian commander that I served as his general.
And would you consider, and that's what, obviously that's what you look like now, right? That's you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any reptilian features that's blended into your civilian life?
I have not features, but I have severely a lot of reptilian behavioral traits. Because I know what humans are, I suffer with like where dominance will kick in, like where I'll like a human will be talking to me, and I'll address it as a slave, or it'll like anger will just pop out of me, like how dare you talk to me like that, you human slave, or like. But I'll like my higher consciousness will like try to stop me from acting that way, because I'm also a star seed where I'm here for light and love, and then just like I'll have like commander traits where like I'll think I'll have superior thinking than some people, and I will like order them around, but like I work on that every day not to be like that, but that's just like some of the traits that I like have inside of me, superior thinking like that. So
okay, does anybody else have any questions for Joel Penny, perhaps about this topic or another topic?
Thanks. This is Fraz, and Joel, you have, as what's interesting, is one of the few that I've come across that is still on active missions. One of the questions I have is, do you have anything current, and I mean 2017, 2018, for Antarctica and what's going on there and some of the surrounding areas? Can you shed some light on what's going on?
Nothing with Antarctica. The only Earth thing that I've done, most of my stuff is off planet. I was in India about a month ago, where I was in my bed, and then I woke up in my avatar on this plane, and we were having a mission briefing at Team of 5, and we jumped out of a plane, and my weird thought was that, why am I not scared of flying in this body, but I'm scared of heights in my human body? And then we landed in India, and we were hunting down this splinter cell of group where this guy was a very large man. And I remember I had a rifle pointed at his head, and I had a conversation with him before we took him in. And then 2 of my super soldier female comrades were killed with grenades. And I remember looking at a picture on the way back after our mission. I was crossing X's on their faces because they died, and then I woke back on my body. But nothing to do with Antarctica. It's only been on the LOC and the dark side of the moon, or Mars and stuff like that.
Thank you. Penny, any comments?
You're on mute, Penny.
There. I have 3 active altars in space right now. One of them is the one that occasionally interacts with James. She is in a cyborg body, so she's mostly AI, and she flies a shuttle back and forth between the moon and Mars. She would not have any information that you would find relevant at all. There is another one that is the one that works with Cael, also in Nachtwaffen, and which is what everybody else calls Darkfleet. And she's a navigator pilot on a small ship. It's a crew of about 20, and all but 4 of them are ETs. And we do intel. Basically, we're spies. And we're not in the solar system. And the other alter is, I've only woke up in her once, and I have no idea what she does. Excuse me. I have one that's active on Earth, but she works for the CIA and would not have any idea.
Next person.
Well,
Hi, can I ask what the CIA's connection is to SSP specifically? Can we have a clear kind of connection there? It would be really good for everyone to understand, I think.
The best connection I can say is that all the kids that end up serving in the secret space program at any level are all initially kidnapped by the CIA. Where they go after that is assigned by the ACIO. But all of the initial kidnapping and mind fracture is done by the CIA, no matter what country they are from.
Oh gosh, it's horrendous. I would like to refer to what you were saying about this in detail in the first session of this 57th meeting, Penny. And you said that the silence of the people is giving consent for them to continue doing this atrocious torture on the children. So so therefore, in this session, we would like to discuss this so you are aware of it, and therefore you can have a voice to tell the authorities to stop. We don't want this anymore.
Yeah,
it is a crime.
That's very important, and that's actually the main reason I came forward in the first place, was to get the population to say, enough, no more.
Mm-hmm.
Congress has control over the CIA. That's the only, well, Eisenhower started them, so I guess the president sort of does, but he was cut out of the loop presidents ago. I think probably Carter is the last president that had any control over them at all. And so Congress took control with the Church Commission in the 1970s. And since then, they've just dropped the ball. So the CIA has been operating with drug money, kidnapping money, human trafficking money, gun money. I mean, if you look in history, look at the Iran-Contra hearings at the end of the Reagan administration, and you'll see where that The CIA has all this money that's not accountable to anybody. So they are basically their own little kingdom running all of the secret space programs. They kidnap kids all over the world with absolute impunity. They mind fracture them. They put them into slave labor and keep them. Most of us are used over and over and over and over. We do not ever have a life of our own. And, you know, we don't get paid. We don't have any control. I've heard some of the super soldiers and some of the assets. And there's a distinction. Super soldiers are usually genetically modified to be larger and powerful and domineering and gung-ho, where assets are more like the people who are doing the sciences and the people who are the secret agents, the people who are the assassins rather than the soldiers. These are assets. And some of the assets think of themselves as superior to the super soldiers because they're not bulked out. But when push comes to shove, we're all slaves because we have no control over our own destiny and we're not paid. This has to stop. Humanity will never go forward as long as we're allowing slavery to be a major part of our world. And since the last set of wars in the Middle East, the ones where we had 8 wars going at once, slavery has popped up in Europe, it's popped up in North Africa, it's popped up in the Middle East, it's popped up even in England. You've got people from other countries being taken there and used for all kinds of weird things. There was one article I saw about people from the Philippines were being brought into UK and used in factories to grow marijuana. And that whenever that they got caught, that the owners of the slaves would just surrender them like they were the criminals when they were victims. So this is going on real world as well as the secret world. This is a continuum. Whatever is happening to us is also happening to regular people. And
exactly. I agree, Penny. And what about, can I ask you, what do you think about the presidential alert that's going on today and the indictments and the arrests that are supposed to be going on today? Have you heard of that and do you know of that?
I have not been following Q. I have a lot of friends that do. I'm not going to judge them for it. I found it distracting. I have been hoping that there would actually be arrests of some of the perps that are out there, but I haven't been holding my breath. I've watched investigations come and go, and usually the witnesses are who does jail time. So I'm hoping that that's going to be different this time around, but I don't put a lot of trust in the government.
And also what I'm saying is that at the international tribunals for natural justice, the people that work with New Earth Nation, from which I do as well, as much as I can, globally, that all of these movements are bringing things to a head. And I just like we all say, it has to happen and it's got to stop. And I do see lots of signs, Penny, that these things are happening. So I just want to give you and share that hope because I really believe in my heart that these things are happening from what I can see globally.
There have been tribunals happening over the last 30 years in various different realms. There's the ones in Kuala Lumpur. There's the ones that were in England before. Then there's the new ones. The trouble with all of them is they have no authority to punish the perpetrators. They can find them guilty and publish it, but as long as they can't arrest and punish, then it's spinning their wheels. Something has to be done to actually stop the crimes.
So it still boils down to the fact that most of us don't have a clear picture as to the hierarchy of the controllers of this planet, the pyramidal structure. That James, perhaps you could put some light on this one in your conversations with Peter Berger about the controller of the planet who is not human. I mean, if the governments are just, well, you know, soldiers, and then even the Bilderbergers and the Freemasons and the Illuminati and the whatever are answering to this. There is possibly a boss of the planet, and okay, so this boss would have the big picture of the matrix, and everything is coded, right? So it's a computer simulation. And the SSP, I don't know how it falls into the equation of all this. James, you want to say something about this, the big picture? I mean, we can have a voice. We can write letters to the president, tell the government to stop and all that, the CIA, but they are answerable to a hierarchy of the people who are on top of the capstone of the pyramid, the controllers of the planet. Can you put some light on this, James, in your conversations with Peter Berger?
I don't understand the question. What you want me to talk about, the controllers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, from what I believe is going on, the main group is Monarch Solutions, which operates their main headquarters in an underground dome on the border between the U.S. and Canada near Toronto. Actually, entrance is in Toronto. And they've been here for tens of thousands of years, since the time of Atlantis, and they are actually infested with archons. And they have been using all sorts of mind control and advanced technology to keep the public in the dark about some of these programs. And I can't really answer the connection between them and Darkfleet, because that's really something that I'm not qualified to answer. I think maybe Peter, the insider, would be better at answering that. But what I can tell you is that so even though Monarch is creating pretty much most of the problems that we're dealing with, these other splinter groups are also major players as well. It's like a conglomerate of different factions, an aggregate of different factions, to the point where they're all fighting for control and power. Now, I know, like, for instance, DARPA is working with our military, and they work with the secret space program, but they only get access to a tiny little trickle of the technology. Most of the advanced tech is not given to them. They keep them to themselves.
What about the ACIO and NSA?
They get, what they actually do is they travel into other alternate universes and collect technologies that are not over here. Like, for instance, there's a timeline where Hitler won World War II, and they set up, I guess, this region. I live in North Carolina, and the East Coast was actually controlled by the Nazi groups, and the West was the Japanese. And so they threw a limited budget at Tesla, and then they have it extremely, like, for instance, everybody drives Beamers and Mercedes, and they have a car that gets 50,000 miles on one battery charge, and it costs $5,000. And today, of course, they use the marks, Reich mark, whatever it is. But the minimum wage, I'm trying to give equivalents in U.S. dollar. The minimum wage, I believe, was something in the, I think he said something close to like $30 or $40 an hour. Because so much advanced technology is released, the people don't have to struggle about paying electric bill, and they have replicator machines. And so that's just one example. There's other timelines as well, Atlantis and so on, where that never went to the sea. So they've been bringing this technology back here, and they actually confronted some of the industrialists to release some of this free energy technology. And at one of the meetings, Peter was commenting that they wanted the power. They wanted the control over the people. They don't care about the money. They want control. And it's almost like they have these, now we have these breakaway civilization groups. They have so much money and technology that they don't care about the average person. And it's hard to explain to the average person out there that these people don't care. They view you as a slave, as Penny has said, and Joel as well, and many others, really, I think maybe when you look at how revolutions take place, it's not when the slaves revolt. It's more like when the upper echelon, the upper class of society, the people that know everyone else's place, when they revolt, that's when the revolution takes place. So what we need to see is like the elites themselves need to turn on each other and say enough's enough. I think we're going to start seeing that, I hope, with Trump, because I do believe there are certain insiders that are working with that administration to bring about disclosure at their timing, whenever that may be, which is probably the second term of his presidency. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I guess. We are like going around in circles unless we know how to get to the source of all this problem. And I guess it must have come from the top. Okay, and I remember having so long ago, I had a sort of a conversation with Peter Berger, and he was saying that who the boss of the planet is. He's no other than Satan. Oh gosh. So I guess, and even the Queen of England is answerable to the boss, and the Vatican is answerable to the boss, the Freemasons are answerable to the boss, and so on and so forth. So there is a hierarchy somewhere, where when we get disclosure more and more, I suppose we will see the truth behind the veil and the big picture. Then we will know how to have a big voice to stop all this. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of difficult when they erase the memories of the super soldiers and the masses here. They are zombied out, very unawakened, all of the masses out here on the planet.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think they may even erase some of the memories of some of the civilians here on Earth. Let's say there is a mass UFO sighting. Perhaps there is some kind of technology where they can erase, like if a UFO was to fly over a football stadium or whatever you like. But and there's mass sighting. So could they possibly erase everyone's memories? Penny or Joel, you want to comment?
Well, it's more like you're only willing to see what you already believe is possible. You can have something just absolutely fantabulous happen right in front of you, and it won't even register on your brain that it happened, because it's outside of your realm of possible. So that's part of what people like Joel and I and James are doing, is we're bringing it up over and over, where people hear it and it starts to sink in. Otherwise, they won't even see it. But I wanted to go back to who's in charge.
Yes, please.
Okay. Each of these programs has their own set of ETs that they work with.
Mm-hmm.
And each of these ETs all say that they created humans. Now, my understanding is that there were 22 races that each had a finger in our DNA. And all of these 22 races claim to be our creators because of that. Now, there are 3 races, I think, maybe 4, that get most of the blame for everything that went wrong. There's the Draco, because we live in the territory of their empire. Okay, so they get number 1. Number 2 is a group that call themselves the Sahami, and they are part of the group that's called Anunnaki. And they are between 7 and 9 feet tall, and they look like Vikings. They have a blue tint to their skin because they eat too much colloidal silver. Otherwise, they would look like us. And the ones I've met are jerks. They have really high psychic abilities, major psychic abilities, and otherwise they're like football players, you know, arrogant and have no boundaries and fight amongst themselves, and they're just basically football players with major psychic skills. And, you know, like Thor, you know, they're not great guys, but still they're the basis of the gods. And the other one are the tall grays. They have been here all along. And those are the 3 ET groups that are kind of fighting amongst themselves over who's going to rule us. And they all want to own Earth, with or without humans on it. That is their agenda. Now, the Draco are actually more tolerant of humans than the others are. And I know that does not fit with what people tell you. Now, as far as the different groups that are out there in the Black Ops that we call the secret space program, Nachtwaffen thinks they run the show. Their higher officers are still Schwarze Sonne, Black Sun. They are still answering to the German High Command in Antarctica. Antarctica won World War II with the Battle of Operation High Jump in 1947. And that was why they buzzed the White House whenever Ike was in office, was because Truman refused to sign the armistice papers with them. So they buzzed the White House and basically forced Eisenhower to go along with it. And they have been running the NATO countries ever since 1953 through the Trilateral Commission. So that is the liaison between the German High Command and the governments. The religious side, everybody thinks it's the Vatican, but it's the Fabian Society runs the Vatican. And everybody else is subordinate to the Vatican. They all work together, and that's why they have all these meetings of all these different religious groups at the Vatican. or where the Pope goes to them. And the money, everybody thinks that it belongs to the Rothschilds, but they're just the bankers. The money actually belongs to the German High Command. Now, the German High Command owes tribute money to the Draco on an annual basis. So, all of this debt that the planet is supposedly owing is owed to the Draco. We are in debt slavery to them. So, you put all the pieces together and then listen to everybody that wants to tell their bit. What I told you is what they tell us in Nachtwaffen.
Right. Penny, you were saying that I was asking you a question about how all these technologies, which is so way much more advanced than here on the planet, what you're using out there, and you said that it's possible to bring them down here because it is it can be brought down to 3D physicality, even though it's on another dimension.
No, it's not in another dimension. It's in 3D physicality, 3D physicality. and it's in this dimension. It's in this timeline. You're in the Secret Space Program group. You have heard Tony Rodriguez.
Yep, I have.
Okay. Tony Rodriguez was on a ship that regularly comes to Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean.
Right.
His ship had all this tech. He was stationed on Ceres. You know, it's in the asteroid belt. He was stationed on Ceres, but his ship with him in it came to Diego Garcia on a regular basis. That means we're in the same timeline, the same dimension, 3D reality.
Why can't we have these technologies?
Because the people that run the show want to keep us hungry enough that we will do whatever they tell us to do and that we will never fight back. They are perfectly content with a third of the population of this world starving to death. They're happy with it. Those people don't matter to them.
Penny, you know, I had about 4 or 5 months ago a large sighting, really, of about 50 to 60 white elongated wing-like ships that had flash on its wings. And about 4 days later, Elena did one of her presentations on the Secret Space Program group and Facebook about the white ships, and I had never heard or seen them before. And but the one that stuck out though too is I remember seeing the white saffron stripes on the wings. And so clearly they have this technology in a bunch of places around us. If it just, I was actually stopped what I was doing and went outside and was drawn to go look up outside. One of those moments. And they were basically hovering and then just kind of shifted off into the distance. And I'm wondering if you had any information on those ships, the white ones, I guess. They're white ships.
I'm not real familiar with what's allowed into Earth space. We have a militia around Earth that is run by the United States Air Force and it's called the Earth Defense Force, and they only allow in who they are told to allow in. So if a ship is coming into Earth space, it has been allowed in. So it's either an ally or it's human. 80% of the traffic into Earth space is human. All of the triangular ships are made by Americans. They may be flown by Canadians or Australians or UK people. Some, I believe, are even flown by French. But they're all made by Americans. It's called the TR3 series, and I believe they're on Model H now. They've been being built since the 1980s. And most of the UFO sightings are variations of that. They come in different colors, and they have a skin on them that's crystalline, and they can form an energy force field that will shimmer in whatever color you want it to.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Penny.
you.
All right.
If I jump in with one quick question for both of our guests. Getting back into this abuse of children and putting people into the different forces and stuff. We've got a mic open. If you would mute your mic, thank you. Are either one of you familiar with a chemical called adrenochrome? And is it
Yes.
just Earth-based? Is it Earth-based, or is it used in interplanetary exchanges? That's my question.
Adrenochrome is made by humans. The purest form, the most potent form, is made in children's bodies, and it is the most sought after drug in the galaxy. In the movie Jupiter Ascending, the white bottles, they were actually referring to adrenochrome. There is nothing out there that extends life that I know of. But in most of the ET races, adrenochrome works like methamphetamine does on humans.
Thank you. Joel, do you have any comments on that?
Is he still here?
Maybe not. I just froze up. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Joel.
Yeah, no, I was not. I'm not privy to that information. I don't know what that stuff is. So.
Okay. Back to you, James.
Yeah, well, certainly they were trying to harvest that from us at Montauk. Those children, they put us in cages and traumatize and torture us to extract that from us. No, I mean, there were blood drinking rituals, but we were forced to participate in these rituals. So I think maybe they wanted us to have it. Maybe they were hoping that we would get addicted to it, but it didn't turn out that way. And some of these Dracos that were involved were, I'm one of the third lieutenants of hell, and that's where their soul energy comes from. So, but hopefully, I'm hoping that as time goes forward, that not only disclosures can be made. I mean, from people that I've talked to that remote viewed the future, they all tell me, James, the future is an amazing place. They expose everything. It's not just UFOs, ETs. They talk about secret space program stuff on mainstream news. We're not just going to be segregated to like one part of the internet, or the rest of us trying to ignore it. So I tend to believe that's what's going to happen, and I think it's going to be a lot of positive things. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of financial assistance or some kind of aid, for considering that some of us, in particular, like my profile shows that I've done at least 500 years of service on Mars. I should probably get a pension fund or something for that. And also, I was in the U.S. Army in the late 70s, where they re-aged me. I never got anything from that either. But the point is that a lot of us have been hurt and harmed, but I think I think that the future is going to be a positive place, and we just have to stay positive somehow, even though everything looks horrible as is.
Sounds like you only have 25 retirements.
Oh, yeah, that does probably. They'll probably just find a way to steal it like they usually do. But
right.
Okay.
That's one thing I want to interject here is okay. If all these atrocities could be stopped, right? So therefore, the secret space program could come to an end, because James, you did say at one point that the secret space program only has 2 years left, and like it's coming to an end very soon. So once it comes to an end, right, all the alters, the fragmental soul, consciousness, and all that they had captured from the original to make alters of, would they would be pointless. Right, so therefore they will have to be returned to the original soul being to reintegrate all the fragmental, the fragments into one soul.
There is no technology to do that.
Oh, so
well,
what?
Once you're broken, you're broken.
So what's going to happen to
the energies from the galactic plane supposedly are raising our frequency so that we would integrate. I don't know if anyone's heard about anything like that. That's apparently
the only thing that I've heard about even being remotely possible is a particular technology that the Sahami have, where that they can reintegrate half of your alters. The other half are untouchable.
But Penny, you're saying that when your alter died because the glass that had broken into pieces and killed her, right? She came back to you.
She came back to me, and she sat in my mind, because the veil between us is very thin. And we were starting Native American shamanic soul retrieval. That's what I used to reintegrate the 30 altars that I've reintegrated.
Right.
It's the only technique that I have found that works on Earth. And to my knowledge, there is nothing that works in space, because they don't acknowledge that spiritual side. There's a group of us from the SSP secret group on Facebook that we did a set of interviews talking about the spirituality that's in the secret space program Black Ops. And we got so much grief from that, because people assumed we thought that that was the way it was supposed to be, and we didn't. We were exposing it. And everybody else involved in that, and there were 4 of us, so everybody else involved in that got death threats. And one of the men, his house was fired on with regular bullets by somebody who was mad about it, with his 9-year-old child in the house. So the short version is there's nothing that I know of in the SSP technology that can touch the altars.
Now, Penny, if we are spiritually speaking, if we're talking about ascension, ascension requires the reintegration of the fragmented soul. The fragments has to be reintegrated and come back home.
I know.
The original, right? Then
I know.
We have ascension. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So what they are doing is deliberately making sure that we cannot ascend.
Oh no.
They're
Surely
doing
there
it.
must be a
They're
way.
doing it on purpose.
Oh dear.
We are not people to them.
Hmm.
That's the hardest part to get through people's minds, is they don't care.
I wish we could have Peter Berger coming in to put more light on this conversation, especially on this subject of fragmented souls that needs to be reintegrated for ascension. James, have you had any recollection of any conversation with Peter Berger about that?
Well, yeah. So apparently, at least in my case, the reason why Peter doesn't help me so much with trying to recover my memories, because I don't recall as much as Penny and Joel and so on, is because the trauma that we've gone through is so horrific that we would become basically paralyzed in our physical life. We might maybe go into psych ward, something like that. So really, the ACI doesn't know what to do. They really don't know what to do. They think the best thing is just do nothing, because as long as we're having some functional life, at least we're able to do something. Because yeah, so they really need to release the technology to assist us, but I don't think even the ACIO has the technology. Maybe the ETs do.
I have to go. You guys can
Okay.
I know you have to go. And Penny, we would like to thank you very much for sharing your experiences and your memory recall so bravely, coming forth to speak out and whistleblow. Thank you so much, Penny. Namaste to you, sister, and may you be made whole and well again naturally at some point, you know. Yeah, and I would like to go around the table. And Penny, if you could spare 1 or 2 minutes, then we could be having everyone.
I can't.
You got to go. Okay, right.
I gotta go.
So, yeah, thank you so much, and we hope to speak with you soon again. You know, in another meeting when Alina comes back. Yeah. So go on then, and all the best to your endeavors to get well and made whole again. Thank you, Penny. Okay, so shall we just go around the table, James? Do you think? Yeah, Eliza,
Sure.
you have.
Anyone else like to share any experience? How about Joel? You've been a little quiet. Do you have any information about maybe perhaps what do you foresee happening in the future with the secret space program agenda?
What do I foresee happening? As being a reptilian and living amongst them, I can see, like when you were saying about how humans have no rights and we're not even people to them. I don't see a future where humanity will be set free unless humanity wakes up out of its little coma and sheds their ego personalities and opens their mind, gets rid of religion, money, debt system, just comes together under one banner and walks against the Parliament Hill and demands the truth. The Homo sapiens are created as a slave race, and they've been a slave race since the beginning of their existence. But with their consciousness evolving and souls being trapped into human bodies and star seeds being trapped here, I think that's where the liberation will come from. It's slowly happening over time. The Ijiji freed themselves before human sapiens were being created, so it is possible we can do it for ourselves too. But we have to do a little more than write letters as a military mind. Writing letters really doesn't do anything. We need to do positive marches, demand the truth. People have to learn about this more and more. Our friends and neighbors have to learn about it more, have to wake them up to the truth, make them realize the slave system they live in. Until enough people are frustrated, they stop paying their taxes, stop going to work, and just try to bring the system down and start the positive revolution for the ascension process to happen naturally. The one thing I don't get is that Corey Good was talking about how he has the blue avians here and those golden triangle fair guys, but now they've faded out of our existence and they're no longer here. I wonder what their purpose was. here in the beginning if they didn't see this follow through this revolution.
I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay, you can answer it. Go ahead.
Briefly, essentially, according to the ACIO, the Blue Avians contacted them and asked them that they offered help. They offered to help humanity with this cabal issue in exchange for them changing the laws of physics in this part of the sector of the universe for their own experimentations. And the ACIO absolutely said no. So they had their own agendas, and I don't believe Corey Goode has ever mentioned that at any of his talks.
No, I've tried talking to Corey Goode about my experiences, and he kind of like just brushed me off as just like a whatever. I went to that Contact in the Desert conference, and I've talked to lots of people there. Janet Lesson was the only person that gave me her ear to talk to, and that's how I started doing radio shows, etc. Those people that are on the panel of like Gaia and stuff like that, I think they're letting the fame get to them a little too much. This isn't about fame or money. This is about full disclosure. The very fact that Corey Goode asked for all that money from Gaia and he was denied it just shows that Corey Goode is sitting on the top of the pedestal and he's not letting any other full disclosure people come out. Like there's this guy named Kevin Trimmel. When I talked to him, he had so many experiences that just blew my mind. I was just like, why is this guy not on Gaia? Why is this guy not, the head front of full disclosure? And he had the same experience as Corey Goode, where he was just brushed off and put down and left as like a nobody. So I think the people that are trying to bring full disclosure out are the wrong people that are doing it. Like the people on Gaia and David Wilcox and those people, I think they're letting celebrityism get to their mind too much and letting their human ego take control of what is right and wrong. And if any of you have any ideas about what I just said, do you think that's true or not?
Apparently, they are joining forces with Foster Gamble to make Thrive 2. So that is Corey Goode and David Wilcock, and they're going to travel around the world to give talks and information or disinformation. God knows.
Yeah, but their problem is they're doing it with just them two. They're not letting anyone else come on, like not at all, unless you guys jump through hoops or like rub shoulders with the right guy.
And through my observations, volunteering at many of these conferences, there are, we all should realize in every instance of these gatherings that there are so many manipulations and divide and conquer tactics going on that we all really should just step into non-judgment and just to try to come together, because this is how we're being blocked. Mm-hmm. And from my innate knowing, humanity was super advanced, and I believe it was part of the fall that took us out of our higher knowings and our junk DNA being turned off. So if all of us as powerhouses for the good should come together just to bring on the solutions and to take out the corruption, that would be the way to go. And I think we should all stick to knowing these things, because the divide and conquer tactics that I see go on between the groups constantly is so saddening, and they're not needed, and we just should all just get along.
Well, I'm with you there, Trisha. So as soon as the dormant DNA has been reactivated, well, I mean, we're going to be so loud with our voice. And not only that, I think we're going to be psychic clairvoyance, all our gifts back, telekinesis and everything that we could, teleportation and whatnot. We would have all these gifts back. We don't need those technologies, and they can have it. We don't care. We have our own innate natural gifts there. Yeah.
I can talk about that. So with my 6-dimensional starseed body, we don't use technology. Our technology is based on consciousness and spirituality. So when we travel the galaxy, our bodies are in soul energy form, and we walk on top of water, and we meditate, and then a light orb will wrap around our bodies, and our bodies will come one with the ship. Our consciousness will be one, and we just teleport around the universe with just thought. We can just meditate where we want to go, and we'll instantly just appear there. And we'll just meditate and project our consciousness into avatars or incarnations, and then live the life on those planets. And yeah, we don't use technology at all. Technology is a very third-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like 144 strand DNA.
Yeah, because Joel's coming from Yucatan, right? And that is the sixth dimension. So on the fifth dimension, we could have all this dormant DNA already reactivated. So on the sixth dimension, what more on the sixth dimension, you can do a lot more. Right. So shall we go around the table? I think, John, you have unmuted yourself. You want to say something? This is Dr. John Milewski, who can make gold out of beer bottles with Martin. John, do you want to say something? You want to speak up? Is your microphone working okay? You've been very quietly listening in the background. John? I'm going around the table now, James, so that we can close the meeting properly. So everybody
I don't know how I get my...
Hi, John. We can hear you now. Good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but we would like to see you. We'd like to see your handsome face.
I have it plugged in, but I don't know. Nobody's home.
If you could click on the video icon, then we can see you at the bottom of the window. We have the menu bar with the icons at the bottom of the window, the Zoom window.
Bottom left.
Window. Let's see. Okay, video. Stop video.
Dr. John Milewski.
There we are. Is it?
Yeah,
there we are.
Speaker in our 55th meeting. There you are. We can see you now, Dr. John.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
That's me.
You've been listening in to Joel?
Yeah, I won't do it enough, so I don't remember how to turn it on. See? Oh, there I am. How you doing, everyone? I've been listening very intensely.
So what's your take on all this, John?
Huh?
What is your take on all this?
Well, a lot of it's kind of new. I heard about the Dracos and some of the other guys, but I don't believe why we should be so controlled by these other guys. What's wrong with humanity?
Because
what's wrong with
our
government?
dormant DNA is still fast asleep. If it's reactivated, these guys will be finished in one stroke of the hand.
Yeah, I know it. I know. We have the technology. I don't know. The connections just aren't done right. We don't have the right people in the right place. That know people like you and Penny and stuff like this that has all this background. To me, it's a crime that all this is going on. Everyone in the universe wants to own Earth and wants to control humans. Why don't the humans wake up to the fact that we got something going here that everybody wants? Why don't we wake up and do something to find out, get the right gang together, get which ones that want work together with us to get rid of the bad guys. The
Andromedans told Alex Collier that we are the Partals. We are what, spiritual royalty. Apparently, we carry the DNA genes of the 22 root races of the ET.
Yeah. I'm trying to hold this in the position where you can see who I am. I don't know. I'm going to be 90 years old on November 4th.
You don't look it. You look just 50.
I'm okay. And mostly, I can move around. I take a walk every night for half an hour and stuff. And I can eat everything. And I think it's good. I recently just wrote 13 papers.
Wow.
Radioactivity has been around for 100 years, and conventional physics doesn't even know where the energy comes from. I just wrote a paper on it. It comes from the 0 point energy, super light, traveling at c², pressing on these molecules. When you take the inside out of these atoms, uranium atoms, the sides comes crashing at each other so fast that they, like you slap your hands together, you hear the crash. Imagine the crash of the one side of the molecule and the other traveling at c², 10 billion times faster than the speed of light. So when one part of the molecule hits the other part, it makes a really big bang. You ask the physicists what holds the protons against each other. They say, well, the strong part. But then you ask them, what's the strong part? They don't even know what that is. So that's super light. magnetoelectric energy traveling. You know, if you look at the pictures of these galaxies, they all have spirals. I don't know if you can see it from there. The pictures against the wall there. Well, they all have jets coming out of their axis of rotation of the galaxies. They all have jets of super light. They don't know that the black holes are made out of magnetic matter, where the electrons are replaced with magnetic monopoles and their core is replaced with a magnetic core. And they're 10 billion times more dense and energetic than a regular molecule. And that's what makes up the energy of the black holes. And those things, when the electrons change orbit, they produce regular light, electromagnetic. But when a magnetic monopole traveling at c² drops orbit, it sends off magnetoelectric 10 billion times faster than the speed of light. And that gathers together and comes jetting out of the axis of rotation of all these galaxies. Recently, they took that Hubble telescope and took a picture of the darkest spot in space for 8 hours. It blew it up, counted 10,000 galaxies, 1/4 of an arc second. So when you expand that arc a second to 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 360 degrees, it comes out about 1 trillion galaxies, each with jets coming out the North and South Pole at the speed of super light. So we live in this field of energy, this 0-point energy. We have billions of jets of it coming at us from all directions. And that's the energy we could turn into. But we're not into that. Conventional physics, they don't even know what gravity is, and they don't even know what light is and magnetic energy. And that's the future. I know, I must remember it from a previous life or some upstairs business, that I know what causes relativity. I know what causes gravity. Most of these guys come up with these theories of everything. They all start out with the wrong premise that gravity is an attraction. And gravity is a push, not a pull. And there's no such thing as action at a distance. Things are actually touching each other to make it move.
Right.
And so I got 13 papers I write in, I'm getting ready to get together, trying to get them published. I sent them to Astronomy Magazine. Oh, you can't publish, we can't publish that. It's too new. Nobody will believe it. You know, they don't want to know the truth because they've been told the wrong stuff all along. They believe in the wrong stuff.
Thank you, John, for sharing that.
Oh, I'm sorry taking all this time.
Very, very long 2 sessions, but very interesting conversations, very interesting information coming from the 2 speakers, the Secret Space Program super soldiers. So we got to move on, John, and we'll get you to come back to tell.
I will try. Now I know how to fit this out. I found my earphones. I found them recently, right. and I got my little speaker thing. I mean, taking my television picture.
Okay.
Where to plug all that stuff in.
Right.
So I'm a slow loader.
John, I've got to go around the table. So each has got, each has got half a minute or less to have the last say before we close the meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Nice meeting you guys.
Eliza, thank you. Nice seeing you here. Eliza, before you go, I think she's gone to bed. It's too late. Yeah, I was going to invite her to speak. And Pontus, it's also way past, well, bedtime for you, right? Pontus, do you want to say anything before we close the meeting? I was trying to catch Eliza before she goes off. She has limited internet access. Go on then, Pontus. Yeah.
It's 5:30 here in Wellington.
Pontus?
Yes,
Pontus?
Pontus.
Your microphone's not working?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on the phone. Okay.
No.
Yeah, he's on the phone. It looks like it.
Are you on the phone?
No.
No. Oh, we can hardly hear you. I think it's your volume that has gone down. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to say something?
There he is.
Pontus?
Pontus.
Pontus, go on then. Speak up.
I'm fine with it. I think you don't care so much for me.
Uh-huh. Okay, you're gonna give it a pass, right? So I will move on to Ron. You've said what you needed to say.
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
You don't have anything else, yeah? It's been a long, long day for all of us. Yeah. Okay. So then I'll move on to Manisha. You've got something to say? You want to say something? Any unfinished business that you want to introduce yourself? Where are you?
Well, I'm from India.
Uh-huh.
Hi, namaste.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from India. Can you see me?
Namaste. Yeah, we can
What
see
time is it there?
It's about 3 o'clock a.m.
the
morning.
morning. There you go. Yeah, we shouldn't keep you for so long. I feel bad,
Oh,
when the meeting goes on for so long.
no, that was absolutely, great to listen to all of the people here. Actually, from last almost 2.5 years, I've been reading a lot of information about all of the topics which we were discussing here.
Uh-huh.
And like Corrigo, David Wilcock, Marina
Have
Jacobi.
you? Oh, you're on the same page.
All of them.
Well done.
Yes, I've been following them for quite a long time now.
Well done,
And
Manisha.
seriously,
Welcome to
that's
FESIG. Yeah.
thank you. And yesterday it was just a strange coincidence that I was just checking the mail and I got the invitation. So I just actually thought of that it was some invitation from my office, something. So I just clicked in, and then this is how I got the information. And this is something, I truly feel that there has been some divine call going on, because
Thank you.
basically I'm an economics professor. I've been assistant professor in a university, and I teach
Dr.
economics.
Manisha.
Yeah, and I've been, looking at new world order and all about these the corruptions which have been going on for a very, very long time on our planet. And other than that, from almost 20 years now, I've been into spiritual sciences, doing a lot of healing and meditation. So I was a Reiki healer before, but now I have switched on to pranic healing and Arhatic yoga. So I'm also an energy healer. So that's how I see that two different sides of the world. One is the spiritual world and another is the material world, and how both the different worlds are working together. And right now, this is why this is a very big area of my interest, like through cultural economics. I'm trying to study more and more, listen to so many great people who've been working on this planet to serve for the humanity and do a lot of service as much as we can. So
Oh,
truly,
thank
it's been
you.
a great privilege to be
Thank
here.
you so much, Manisha. It's really lovely having you here with us. Yeah, I really, truly hope that but I can't keep you up all night like that. I was going to say that. I wish you could join us, but it's only once a month.
Don, can we get you to turn your mic off, please?
Sorry?
All right, I will do that. Press on mute.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Manisha. Namaste to you, sister. So, can I call upon Mona? You have got anything to say before we close?
No, I don't have anything to say really.
You don't have anything to
But
say.
I listen to everything, and oh yeah, I can say that I think I would like to say something that I really believe that we're living extraordinary times, and on the contrary, I think we're all moving on in being, we were created in the image of God, and so we are becoming that image and waking up to that our true unlimited potential, but we just are re-educating ourselves towards eternity and to live eternally and overcome the ultimate threat, which is death.
Yeah.
And to create, like we are, we have that blueprint of a beautiful world of Eden in us, and that's where we're going. That's
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you for your piece here. And I just want to wrap it up very quickly, and I would like to say that yeah, in summary, yeah, all we need to do is to go within, meditate every day, as a way of, you know, connecting with our higher self, so we can then reactivate the, Trisha says, junk DNA, dormant DNA. Then we will be the awesome spiritual royalty that Alex Collier was talking about, that all these ETs are so interested about the human race. So I think that's the message that I would like to give to listeners and viewers before we close this meeting. And okay, Ron, do you want to say anything? Or do we just, there's no other big...
I'm good. It was a great meeting, and
Yeah.
some of the things that Penny brought up this time, I heard her before when she was on. What was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago? But this time she really got into the nitty gritty of some of the knowledge that maybe it's because she has remembered a lot more than she did before when she was.
Oh yes, I was going to say that. Yeah, it's amazing how much more she could remember now. Yeah.
But other than that, I just really enjoyed listening to everything that has been going on today, and not only her, but also the other two SSP members. I guess one of whom is gone. Maybe they're both gone now. I'm not sure.
Both gone. Yes, too long. Okay, so there being no other business, James, shall we then just adjourn this meeting, 57th FESIG meeting, the second session, to the next one? Yeah, you're good, right? Is there anything? Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say. I need
Fraz?
to go. We need to wrap this up.
Yeah, Fraz?
I'm through here, but it's fine. Let's
Okay.
wrap it up.
So there being no other business, this meeting is now being adjourned to the next meeting, the 58th FESIG meeting, which will be on the 7th of November, the first Wednesday of the month. Okay, and thank you very much, everyone. Lots of love to all the brothers and sisters out there. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.